Baby Boomer fans, we are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River, make sure you are wide awake, and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us again today for another delightful 1950s Fun Chat. You know, Jackie, sometimes we have guests who have many wonderful stories to tell, especially about the 1950s, that we invite them back for a second chat. And that's what's happening today.
It is number 219 today. And folks, welcome. And take a look at the banner below, www.whilethewindmillwatch.com. Please go there for all sorts of information about the authors, about our vendors for the book, which you see up in the corner, about the previous 1950s Fun Chats, and so much more. This is as they mentioned, number 219. So we've been at this for 4 years, and we have learned a lot about the 50s and before and beyond. So today we're going to have a continuation of 218 chat. A more complete bio of our guest can be found on that chat preceding this one, but we're talking about Ed Bryan. From dairy farmer to civil engineer to pilot to playwright and so much more in between. So Ed was born on December 31st, 1941 in Gooding, Idaho. And today he and his wife, Jan, of almost 63 years, call Deer Park, Washington home. So again, Ed, we welcome you to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Hi, Ed.
Glad you came back again. So during the previous chat, we were enjoying several of your little stories of life during the 1950s as well as before and after. And we ended with the excitement in the cockpit of your airplane. So now we're going from the air down to the land to the water. He's had many adventures in his life, but we'll concentrate on this one from the 50s. So Ed, tell us about the time you had to strip down to clean the sprinkler inlet pipe in the Colville River. Interesting must be, huh? Let's hear it.
Actually, it was, I had to do it more than once. I had to do it quite often because there was a lot of debris that floated down the river. And we had, my dad had water rights to the Colville River. So we sprinkled probably, 80 to 100 acres out of the Colville River. And the sprinkler pipe going into the river to suck the water out would get plugged up with all that debris. So in order to clean that out, I had to strip down bare beam and butt naked and get into the river and clean that thing off. And number one, the river was cold, it was muddy, it was dirty, and it had crawdads.
Oh,
I was always worried about those crawdads when I was down
kidding.
And I had to reach down and with my head under the water to clean that pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And then get all the debris out on branches and mud and whatnot. Anyway, then come out and dry off with my shirt because we didn't have anything else to dry off with. Put my clothes back on and go back doing what we were doing, which was probably haying or bucking bales or whatever.
So how large was this pipe? What diameter?
It was a 6-inch. It was a 6-inch pipe with a big head on it. Probably the head on it where it sucked the water out was probably about 12 inches.
Uh-huh.
And it had a screen around it, and that screen would get all plugged up, and that's what I had to clean out.
Yeah.
I don't know why my dad wouldn't do it. He thought I could do it, so I went down into the water.
How many times a season did you need to clean that?
Oh man, I don't remember. Several, probably 5, 6, 10. I don't know.
So
whenever the sprinkler started not sprinkling, I had to go down and clean the pipe out.
Yeah. And what was the temperature of that water?
Who knows? Cold.
40s? In the 40s, maybe?
I'm sorry, say again?
In the 40s, perhaps?
No, this was not. Oh, it might have been in the 40s. Whatever the Colville River is, and during the early spring into late fall, that's when I had to do it. I mean, during the summertime, it was kind of a reprieve, but it was still dirty and crawdaddy.
Yeah,
Oh.
crawdaddy.
you were a brave person, or maybe it's because you had to do it, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
made do.
It's just part of your life on the farm.
That's right. That's right. That and cleaning the barns and milking the cows, and we my mom and dad owned about 1,000 acres in northeast Washington, and of that, a lot of it was forest ground. So we not only farmed, we logged. We went up and logged the whole dang area. We started with a crosscut saw. Just my dad and I would go up there and saw these trees down with an old crosscut saw. I guess you probably know what a crosscut saw is. It's handed big saw is probably about 6 feet long, and you both run back and forth, saw these trees down. And I remember the chainsaw people came out to try to sell us a chainsaw, and one was a red chainsaw and one was a yellow chainsaw. McCulloch was yellow and Homelight was red, and I always wondered which one we were going to get. I ended up getting a Homelight, a red one. It was a real change, it was real change.
Yes.
You remember carrying that crosscut saw and falling down with it, and I have scars on my arms.
Oh man!
From the teeth of that saw. Dad said, "Oh, you're all right." He took his undershirt off, wrapped it around my arm, and we just kept on working.
Was there ever any training necessary to operate that crosscut saw?
Yeah, it was OJT.
Oh.
On the job.
Okay. That's probably how a lot of farm kids learned
Yeah.
to work on the farm, just on the job.
But what I remember is my dad would sweat through his shirt when we were out there doing that logging, and I worked. I thought, I want to sweat through my shirt, and I could never do it.
So you were thinking that proved that you weren't working as hard as your dad, huh?
I guess so. I don't know.
You didn't want that.
And that working together with your dad in the 50s.
Yes.
How do you think that benefited you as you got older and moved on?
I think it taught me a serious work ethic. We didn't work on a time clock. We worked on the project. You work on this until you get the project done.
Yes.
Unless it came time to milk the cows, then you had to go milk the cows. But other than that, you didn't stop and there were no breaks. You just worked.
Yes.
And I don't. And to this day, I'm probably that way. I tend to be more of a project getting done than a person that looks at the clock and says, "Well, it's time to quit." Although I'm getting better at doing that in my later years. I say, 6 o'clock must be time for beer.
It takes time, right? So we're going to get on to that to have you again have an example of that. But before we ask about that, I understand there was a really low time in your life. And how did it lead to the best gig ever? And how did you get there? I mean, faith, smarts, what?
Well, I don't know if it's smart or safe or whatever, but I suppose the lowest time, financially, the lowest time was I had, but this was not in the 50s. This was in the 70s. I bid a job over in Ponderay County to build the Ponderay County Maintenance Building, and that job went south. And I lost about $250,000 on that job. I finished it. I never filed bankruptcy. I just paid it off over time. But it was really low time. We were not getting along at home, and I mean, finances couldn't cause that. Anyway, so I decided I needed to sell everything, and we sold our house. We sold everything. I remember walking down Cedar Road. And took Susan and Shelley, my 2 daughters, with me. We're walking along, and I said, "What do you think about selling the house?" "No, we don't want to sell the house." And I said, "Well, we're going to sell it." So anyway, then I went to work selling stocks and bonds for a company called IDS, and I was real debt driven. I had to pay this loan off, and so I worked and I worked and I worked night and day doing that. Again, I would get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and get to work and not quit until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I was making enough money to pay the loan and to eat, and that was about it. Excuse me. And then I looked at my State Farm agent, Paul Spranger's, and I said, you know, you make a lot more money than I do, and you don't work as hard, and you have no risk. I want to be you. And so I became a State Farm agent, which was a real struggle at the beginning of that also. I remember one day when I couldn't pay my electric bill for like 2 months. I had a gal that was working for me, and I had to pay her, and I just didn't have any money to pay the electric bill. And I let it slide, and I saw a Vista truck come and get his ladder truck out and go up to the transformer outside my office. And I went out and I said, "Are you getting ready to shut my power off?" He says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. We got to shut it off." I said, "If I give you a check right now, will you keep it on?" He said, "Yes." I have no idea how I covered that check.
Wow.
Anyway, that was a low time.
That was
I remember I had an office down in the basement of Fred Stewart's building, and Christmas came, and I didn't have any money to buy Christmas presents with, and sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I would go into this little office that I had, and I would kneel down and I'd pray and pray and pray.
Amen. Yep.
Anyway.
And God heard.
Best gig I ever had.
Yes.
Sure. So that's a carryover from the 50s. You had tenacity. You kept on. You kept on going, and things really did get better, didn't they?
They did. They turned out better.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what a load! What a burden! It's gone.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So it taught me that money is not everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's something you have, but if you don't have, you just keep on keeping on.
That's right. And you were able to send 3 daughters to college, and you have a great life beyond that.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so let's and it's also a crown on Jan's head too.
Yes.
I mean, she was having fun most of the time with you, having a good life. From what I know, she's still having fun with you. So, well, let's move on to something else. You're a theater guy, and you are. So, in fact, you're now a playwright. So, what was the progression of your theater life? Where and when did it begin? Was it like when you were 6 in Sunday school or something, and how did you eventually evolve to become a playwright?
I was never in a play in high school. We did a 4-H play once when I was in 4-H, but I really didn't get into the theater until we moved from Michigan back to Colville, and I was in a little play that I think I talked about, where I don't even remember what the name of the play was. It was a mystery theater. And then I got into Woodlands Theater and did many shows in there. And I fell in love with musical theater, even though I can't sing, I don't know music. But I loved it. And we would go to what was the Muni Theater in St. Louis when we lived there. And they usually had musicals, and I loved those. So anyway, I got hooked with the theater and became very involved with the Woodlands Theater. They bought the building in Kettle Falls, and I helped do a bunch of remodeling there. I remember Chris Kelson made a ladder so I could go up to the cables and tighten the turnbuckles on the thing so the building wouldn't fall down.
Oh my!
And after he made the ladder, he wouldn't go up it. So I said, "Well, I can go up that ladder." So I did, leaning against there, waving around in the air.
Yeah.
Anyway, so theater became a part of my life after I was probably 35, 36 years old was when I was in my first play. And I just learned to do theater, and I think I was halfway decent at it. I made people laugh, and that was always fun. Then moving from Colville down to Deer Park, Loon Lake area, it was a long ways to go to the Woodlands Theater. So I decided I'd try to get in the Civic Theater in Spokane, which I thought was the ultimate thing that a person ever wanted to do. We would go to the Civic Theater often, and I think, oh man, it would just be so much fun to be in that theater. I auditioned for years before I finally got a part in the Civic Theater. I mean, I just couldn't get a part. I was either bad at auditioning or they just didn't like me, whatever, I don't know. But and then finally, when I did get into it, I flourished there. I remember thinking at my first little funny line, I thought, and the audience laughed. I thought, oh great, I could make Spokane audiences laugh.
You have arrived.
Anyway, so from there I was riding back and forth from 12 Mile to Deer Park, and I listened to books on tape, and I listened to Moby Dick. Took me almost a year to listen to Moby Dick on tape. And during that time, I kept thinking, man, this is a boring book, but it's got some really good parts in it. And I thought I could write a musical on this. If they wrote a music for Les Mis, I can write a musical on Moby Dick. So I started in 2013, probably. I started writing a play on Moby Dick, and I decided it should be a musical. So anyway, that's how I got into writing plays, and I had success with Moby Dick. It was chosen after all that time. We did a workshop at the Civic Theater, and then we got chosen to be in the Chicago Musical Theater Festival in February of 2020. So we spent 2 months in Chicago casting and rehearsing and putting together this show, which I had to build a set and get it in the back of my pickup and drive to Chicago in January. And luckily, there was no issues. I was going to take a trailer, but I thought, the wind can blow across those plains in North Dakota, which you know about.
Yep.
And I thought, that wind blowing my trailer away.
And are there a lot of community theaters in your area, in smaller towns?
Yes, there are. The Woodlands Theater, the Chihuahua Theater, the Ignite Theater in Spokane, which is now kind of closed. Not kind of, they do readings, and the Civic Theater. I've had the privilege of being in almost every theater in Spokane. I've been at the stage left, well, it doesn't matter.
And isn't there one in Medellin?
Yes, there is one in Medellin. There's also one in Newport.
And do most of those theaters have the actors and actresses from that town, or do many of them come in from outside the area to be in those places?
No, most of them are from that area, from the area around the town. That's what community theater does. They involve the community.
Is acting taught in the high schools?
Wasn't taught to me. I'm not sure. I don't think so. And more and more colleges are abandoning their drama departments. So.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I'm curious to know too, Ed. How does one start to write a play? What's the metamorphosis?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. You get inspiration, and then you just start writing, and you just, I don't know if any of you have been to Marriage Encounter. It's a little program that used to be around in the 70s called the hot pen technique. You sit down and you just start writing, and then that's what I do. I just start writing, and these thoughts come to my head, and I just write them down. I've got, and if you're using a prop like a book that's already written, you can use a lot of that. But you have to. I guess the process is just you have to be alone and not be interrupted, and just sit. I'm sure you understand this. You wrote a book.
Yes.
So it's the same thing.
And at one time, didn't you say it was kind of like building a building? You have their steps, the foundation.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yes, you have to build. First of all, you have to have the idea. So you have to draw up a plan, an outline, And then you start working on that outline, and you work on it and say, oh, this is not going to work. This door is not going to be able to fit there. And so you take this out and put another piece in. You get all this put together, and then you rearrange it so that the chapters look right and the building looks right, or the play flows rather than just going from one blob to another blob. And then you try to write a song that will kind of enhance that scene. So you're just building it as you go along. And I like to build things, so that's what I do.
Yes. And as you write that song, do you have in mind a voice that will go with it?
I do to some extent. I know that kind of the style that I want this. I'm not a composer, so I can't compose music. But I kind of can feel I want this to be a really joyful song, and I want to write this so that it's something people will sit up and listen to and enjoy. Or if it's a love song, you gotta, and I do research. You gotta write a love song. You better find out what love songs do. So you look up love songs on the internet and say, oh yeah, this is what they did there. This is what they did there, and you just research and do all of that kind of stuff. Yes. And then I just start writing ideas down for a song, and pretty soon it develops into. I'm surprised that it does, but people say when they're writing a book that you're not sure how this thing is going to end, and it's very true. It's very true. When I started writing this latest play that I've done, Esther, I had an idea how it was all going to go together, but it didn't come together like my idea came. It surprised me.
Yes. Well, when Jackie and I were writing the book, you're right. We did focus on it. We spent a lot of hours on the phone.
Months and months and months.
And we thought we had it done. But then after we kind of gave the final reading, we knew we had to have this special chapter in gratitude to our parents.
Yes.
For the life they gave us. And so that was a wonderful way to summarize it. And perhaps that's how it works too in writing plays. You have an ending, you have a beginning, and there's an ending, and it's got to be a good one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, kind of sum it up. Yeah. Well,
see,
congratulations.
I've got the idea for my next play in my head now, actually.
Yeah.
And so
do you have any idea when Esther will be finished?
Esther is basically done now. I hired a dramaturg in New York to go through it, and he did, and it came back, and it was still about a 2.5 hour play. So I revised it down from that, so it's now about 2 hours. I'm just trying to find someone to produce it right now. And I have a small amount of interest in the Whitworth drama department in Spokane, so hopefully that'll work out.
Okay.
Are producers always on the lookout for fresh ideas in plays?
But I don't know. I'm not a producer, but but there are a lot of opportunities to send your play to various theaters and producers. There's a website called Play Submission Helper, and there are hundreds of places to send plays.
Oh, okay.
So I've done that. I've sent out about 35 of them, and hopefully something will happen. If not,
there's always
the chances of a new musical play getting produced are probably about 1 in 1,000. So my chances are not great, but I do have fun doing it.
Yes. So is Esther a musical?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't know if you know the story of Esther, but it's about these two strong women that defy the king. But my story is these two strong women defy the boss in this curtain manufacturing company.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't know they manufacture curtains anymore.
How did you link on to that? The curtain manufacturing.
It took a long time for me to come up with an idea of how I was going to modernize this. I have pages and pages of various scenarios of what I could do to make it modern. I wanted to make it inclusive. My goal was, I guess, probably to be inclusive. I wanted all people to be involved in this play. I mean, Esther saved the Jews. I wanted Esther to save all the marginalized people that are in the United States, and that's what I've done.
Okay.
And through this job that she had, I mean, through this workplace that she was working in.
So when you have a play that's written and you found when you found a producer, how do you go about finding a location of where it should be performed?
Well, that's the other problem. There, you have to either rent a theater or find a theater that wants to produce your show, and they will do it.
Oh.
The one in Chicago, we were chosen by the Chicago Musical Theater Festival to come and produce this show, but they didn't pay for it. I mean, it cost $40,000 to put that show on in Chicago.
Mhm.
And so we had big fundraisers, and we raised most of the money through GoFundMe and another group, and then just people donating money.
Mhm.
But it still cost me probably 10 grand to put that show on in
Yes.
Chicago. And then COVID came along, and so everything went in the tank.
Mhm. Oh, bummer.
Because it was,
Excuse me, I have to shut the curtain because
Yes.
the sun is shining.
Well, Ed,
There.
you know, While the Windmill Watch could easily be written into a play, couldn't it?
probably, yes.
Just an idea.
You know it's going to be a movie.
Oh, I'd love to hear songs that you would write for.
Some little girl songs and some big girl songs.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So when you think of the decades, Ed, what positive, joyful event comes to your mind?
I don't know that there is an event.
Okay.
You know, we lived a pretty secluded area, a pretty secluded life. I didn't have a TV. We didn't have a TV in our house until I was in high school. Actually, it was 1959, Christmas of 1959, when we got a TV.
Mm-hmm.
We listened to the radio from time to time, listened to country western music. But even then, we didn't have the radio on and news going along, so there weren't events. I remember being worried about the Korean War. And I was thinking my dad was going to get drafted. We would get feed from Purina to feed the cows and whatnot. And the Purina truck driver would come out, and he'd be dressed in a brown, I remember he's dressed in a brown uniform, brown Purina suit. And I thought for sure it was somebody going to come and take my dad away to the war.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that Purina dressed their drivers in a certain.
Well, that time they did. Or he just dressed that way. I'm not sure what it was, but it gets me. I think just the work ethic that I learned growing up on a farm, where you don't take breaks, you don't rest. You got work to do all the time.
Yeah. And the weather also is. In fact,
weather didn't matter.
No.
Well, unless you were haying, then every once in a while you had it. But then if it was haying, you just did something else.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. You sharpened the sickle.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe.
This has been phenomenal to have your follow-up story to the last week's fun chat. You're just a guy of many chapters. Let's put it that way.
Chapters and talents. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yes, it's been our pleasure to hear your stories.
It certainly has. And folks, I'm sure that you've enjoyed getting to know Ed and his stories of the 50s. And so please do come back next time for another way of educating you about the 50s. So until that time, tell your friends, even your relatives, about this 1950s fun chat. So till next time, toodaloo.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.